May I have a word? That's actually the title of the talk today, is the word. And sometimes people say, may I have a word? Or there's other colloquial uses of word. I remember way back in the 90s, as I was first getting into sort of taking care of myself and getting my emotions and spiritual life in order, my first counselor was in a discussion with her about something that I had said. And I said something like, it's just semantics. She says, oh, it's only words? I said, yeah. She says, honey, words is important. That's all we got. And Karen was so right. Words is important. And words are important on two different levels. On the human level, words are important because that is the mechanism that we have to move an idea from one mind to another. If there's something somebody else is thinking about and you want to understand what they're thinking about, then words are the way that we have to express that and to detail it and define it. And we can do things by actions and activities. It's possible to be in the presence of someone and just feel something. But words let us be very descriptive and very definitive, and we also have the ability to record them, to write them down and pass them along, to repeat them, to understand them. So on the human level, words are really important because that's the basis of the richness of our communication. On the divine level, they take on an even grander meaning. At the divine level, words are the rudder that we use to steer our ship. And if you think about it, the ship is heading straight ahead, and you've seen these in the movies, and the captain says, right 15-degree rudder. And the person says, aye, aye, captain, and they go ahead and do that. And then sometimes the captain will say, to a heading of 217. And what that means is we're going to turn gently in that direction until we get to this new heading, and we're heading in a new direction. And then we're going to go straight ahead there. And the words are really important because when we want to turn the ship into a different direction, it starts with a word. It starts with a word. This is what I want to do. And then that turns into instructions and then actions, and then change happens in the world. So at the divine level, the word is creating a new experience in our life. And it always starts with intentionality. It always starts with the word. Our group that has been working with the Living Untethered is continuing to meet. And the instructions were, if you want to live untethered, if you want to go to a life of witnessing and have this transformation, the first thing to do, the most important thing to do, is to have the intention to do it. And there are some other little details of things that you can try and activities and practices that you can have. But Michael Singer is really emphatic that the first thing that you need to do is set the intention. Because that intentionality is creative. Our word is creative. The creative word the magicians use is abracadabra. And I've discussed this before, that abracadabra actually comes from the Hebrew. Abara, which is I will create. Kedabra, which is as I speak. Abracadabra, I will create as I speak. And we do, and we can, and we are, and that's what happens. That's the way that we're using our words. And we can use them to create something really spectacular and wonderful and great and helpful and uplifting. And we can use our words to create something that is harmful. We can use them with intentionality, or we can use our words with ignorance. And I'm put into the info, into the schedule, that the talk today is going to be about the word. That immediately drew some input for the opening prayer about the word. In the beginning there was the word. And that's from the very first verse of the book of John. And I got it here from the King James Version of the Bible. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then you think, why do they need to say that two different ways? And then it continues, the same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men, and the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. So it's easy to sort of be glossy about that. In the beginning was the Word. And that's kind of the same thing that it says in the first book of Genesis, which is, or the first verse of Genesis, which is, in the beginning there was darkness and void, and the word was let there be light. The divine said, let there be light, and there was light. But I actually wanted to dig into this. What's up was the word, and the word was God, and the word was with God. So I went through and I just, okay, the beginning was the word, fine, that's the word. And the word was with God. Okay, with God is the word. And the word was God. Okay, word, God, same thing. With God, God, same thing. Word, God, with God, all means the same thing, all means God. Which means the same thing that the first verse of Genesis means, that God said, let there be light, and there was light. You start with the word, and then you have the experience. Interestingly, as I go through these exercises, there is a ton of information about what other people think this all means and the ways that they explain it. And it can be explained from cynical perspectives, and it can be explained with Bible scholarship in other different directions. And it's just amazing to see how much input a couple of lines of words can bring up. And it's interesting because we're not disagreeing with any of it. We're not disagreeing with anything, because there's some hoops to jump through to understand that when it says God and with God and the word, that it was somehow talking about Jesus instead of God. And if that's helpful, then great, go ahead and do that. Because the whole reason that I ran away from my original spiritual upbringing is because I didn't believe that Jesus was the only Son of God. I thought maybe we all are. And Jesus was just doing a really good job at it. And so, and it turned out 20 years later that there's a whole teaching about that, which we call New Thought, which I really started lapping up like a cat with a bowl of milk. Because that infinite creative power that creates everything has created us. It created Jesus. It created everything, all of the supposed miracles that happened, which once you understand the trick, once you've got the abracadabra down, then anybody can do it. I just don't know how currently. So I've let go of my attachment. And instead of saying, oh, there's somebody who does something that I can never possibly do, I can make it be, well, there's somebody who was able to do stuff that I just don't understand how to do. And could I? Maybe. Am I going to apply myself to the point where I could? Probably not. In which case, no. If I were really to take it on and say, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to make happen in my life, would I be able to? Maybe. I don't know. But I could certainly give it a try. And so then there becomes the personal words, the ones that we're using and the ones we have. So aspirational words. And when we got on this morning for the tech rehearsal, I was asked, how am I doing? And I said, live in the dream. And Dina, who's doing the tech, laughed. Because we have company coming over tonight, and we had been having more discussion about how to clean the house up so that we can have company come over. So living the dream might be a little aspirational for me. There's some other words that are aspirational, and by that I mean words that we use that may not be completely true right now, but that we have the intention of being true. So we're going to stick with that and use those as the invitation for the newness coming along. I learned a lot from my dog, Oliver. Oliver is really good when I tell him to sit. He sits right down. And he has very good posture. He sits attentively. When he's on the furniture and I want him off the furniture, I say off, and he jumps right down. And there are other fun tricks that he is very good at doing. And the word is sit, and he sits. Oliver has a little bit of a problem with come. He thinks that the response to that can be a matter of opinion. You know, he thinks that come means when you want to, or if it seems otherwise okay, when you get around to it. And that's really not what I mean when I call him. The other one he has a hard time with is not because he's got an attitude, it's because I think he has an addiction, and that's drop it. He has a tennis ball, drop it. He's just going to continue dancing around with the tennis ball going, I got the tennis ball, I got the tennis ball. The word is the same, though. When I set the intention that I want him to drop it, it's because I want something different to be happening in experience. And by the way, I most of the time don't care about the tennis ball. I'm just going to pick it up and throw it for him so that he can play. So, and the same thing, I'm standing there with this harness and I say, come. It's like we're going to go outside and have a little adventure. And when he's hesitant and holds back and whatever, he's actually getting in his own way. What I want to do is do something helpful for him. But the word is not conveying the meaning that I want it to convey in that particular situation. And if you'd like to try talking to my dog, you're welcome to come over and give that a shot. But that's not why I'm talking about that either. It's about the aspirational words that we're all using. What do we want to be creating in our life? Because the words that we're using to describe the experience that we want to be having are the way that we are turning the rudder on our ship. And sometimes, you're riding around in a little sailboat or a small boat. You've got your hand on the controls and you decide you want to make something happen and you just steer in that direction. And the bigger the ship gets, the more complicated it is because the captain doesn't hold the wheel. The captain tells the guy who has the wheel that he wants something to happen, and the guy over there repeats back what he's going to be doing, and he turns the wheel, and there are guys downstairs who are maybe adjusting the engines. And there's a whole bunch of activity that's involved in bringing that change about. But it all starts with the word. It all starts with that intention of what it is that I want to have happen next. Sometimes aspirational words, we call them seed thoughts. And it's springtime. I don't know if you've noticed. May Day is coming up this week. Looking forward to it. And it's very much feeling like spring for me for a couple of reasons. First of all the green things that are coming up, and I have to cut the lawn this afternoon. I also have been notified by the gardening company that they have shipped the Zone 7 plants, so my stuff for the garden is going to be showing up this week. So there is planting to be done. Some of it already showed up in the form of seeds. And when I plant the seeds, I have an intention of what's going to happen. When I ordered the seeds, I had an intention of what was going to happen. And the seeds that I got are organic zucchini seeds. So this is the equivalent of me saying, let there be zucchini. Or perhaps set course for zucchini until zucchini at 217 degrees. But it's all intentional. And we've talked about this before. When we plant zucchini seeds, given the notion that the soil is prepared, that we're not dropping them on the rocks or throwing them in the ocean, if the soil is prepared and receptive, then that seed is going to bear fruit. It is going to blossom and it's going to grow. Now, I'm saying this, and Jeff is in the middle of the desert, so there's some stuff that you need to do in Palm Springs in order to get the seeds to work that's a little bit different than you need to do in Philadelphia. But you start with that seed idea. If I have a zucchini seed and I want to grow zucchinis, no matter where I am, there is a way that I can do that. But the first intention is let there be zucchini, or whatever it is that you are going to be planting. Let there be love in my relationships. Let there be prosperity in my life. Let there be comfort in my physical body. Let there be health in my family. Let there be peace in my world and my circumstance. If we're not willing to start with the word, then we're just going to spend our time complaining about the things that we don't like in life. And our words can be used in wisdom, with insight and thoughtfulness. Our words can be used in ignorance, where we don't know what we're talking about. There's a great episode of the NPR show Car Talk, where somebody had a question about a cattle trailer with electric brakes. And it is absolutely hysterical to listen through as the Mariachi brothers, Click and Clack, discuss electric brakes. Because what they say is, well, I don't know anything about electric brakes. And then they spend 5 or 10 minutes pontificating about what they think about the electric brakes, periodically stopping to say, but we don't actually know anything about electric brakes. Now, that is speaking our word authoritatively and in complete ignorance. And yes, you've done it. Yes, I've done it. It has happened. Where we get an idea and we keep going and we keep going and keep going. Last week we were talking about artificial intelligence being like a room full of 7-year-olds making up a story. the same thing can happen to us. If we start out with a premise and we start speaking from our level of ignorance, then we can go and go and go, and we might get it right. And that's really dangerous, because then we think it's a good idea to do that. And it's not. It's a good idea to start with an idea of what we want to be creating and then go from there. So what is it that you're creating? What do you want to have in your life? You can use your words in wisdom or in ignorance, and it's also possible to use your words harmfully, to do something that's going to cause trouble. And sometimes it's trouble for other people, and sometimes it's trouble for us. And sometimes we think if we cause trouble for other people, that'll be fine. Except you know why that doesn't necessarily work, because we live in an infinite universe. There is one creative power that creates everything. And when we are setting the intention for there to be some sort of chaos or malevolence in the world, who gets to experience it? We do. It comes into the world through us. So maybe that's what it means by the Word was God and the Word was with God, because it's going to happen, and it's going to happen to me first. And maybe that's not what it means. I don't know. Maybe it's electric brakes on a cattle trailer, and I don't need to know. So the question for you for today, for this week, is what are the seeds that you're planting? What is the experience that you want to be bringing into the world? What is the experience that you want to be having? Who do you want to be in the world? What do you bring into it? And is the experience that you're desiring and the intention that you're setting and the activities that you're engaging in, is that all in harmony? Are those fitting together? Because if we say one thing and do something else, if we claim something and believe something else, we're going to get the results of our actions and our beliefs, mostly our beliefs. The important thing is intention setting. Choose the seeds and choose them intentionally. And then go through the planting process and invite something new and wonderful into life. And let me know what comes up. Let me know what's blossoming and what you're going to be harvesting, because there's wonderful possibilities unfolding as each of us, as all of us, as everyone here. You are blessed, and so it is.